A Loganville barber who lived in the United States for nearly 50 years is still waiting to learn if he'll be deported to Liberia, a country he hasn't seen since he was 2 years old. Rodney Taylor, a W amputee, had his immigration hearing last week, but the judge delayed the decision. Now he remains in a Georgia detention center, and his family fears that what deportation would mean for his health and his safety. 11Alive's Kaitlyn Ross has been on this story from the start. Hello, Kaitlyn.
Good morning, Chesley.
This is such a personal and complicated story. Let's start with the basics. Who is Rodney Taylor?
Well, Chesley, we met him months ago. We were actually doing a human interest story on his efforts to help people get medical care in the community. We met him behind the barber chair and didn't even know about his immigration status. It was just a day before that story was supposed to air that we heard from his fiance that he had been detained by ICE and was in detention because of his immigration status.
Why is ICE trying to deport him after all these years?
So this is a super complicated story. Back when he was 16, he was arrested for breaking and entering. It was a juvenile conviction, and he received a full pardon from the state for that conviction. But when it comes to federal immigration law, that doesn't always line up with state law. And so the immigration law at this point supersedes that pardon, and they're told it doesn't meet the standard for him to stay in this country. So the federal government took him to court, and he had that immigration hearing determining whether or not he needs to go back to Liberia or can stay here in the U.S.
Has he ever tried to fix his immigration status?
Yes, 3 times he actually applied for legal immigration. He also tried to apply under DACA, but because of that juvenile conviction, even though it was pardoned, those applications were denied. His family says he never tried to hide his status, though, and was not hiding from any authorities as he repeatedly applied to become a citizen.
Wow. Does he still have family there? I mean, what would it mean for him to be deported back to Liberia?
So he doesn't have any family here. His entire family moved to the United States, and all of them are citizens. So it's been difficult to try and untangle why Rodney's citizenship was not approved, because he was brought here when he was 2. And his mom, his dad, his brothers, they all got their citizenship, but something happened with Rodney and he never became a legal citizen. So he doesn't have any family in Liberia, and he hasn't been there since he was 2 years old.
Wow. What's happening with his case right now?
So we've been following this case since he was in detention, and he's had a number of hearings. The last hearing was just last week, and the judge had said ahead of the hearing that he was going to rule that day. He was going to hear all of the evidence. Rodney's mom was going to testify, his fiance was going to testify, and then he was going to make a decision. But as soon as the judge kind of heard the full history of the case, he said, wow, this is really complicated. And he decided he needed 30 days to review the case thoroughly, and then he's going to issue a written decision. So right now his entire family is on standby, just waiting to see what's going to happen.
Yeah, these stories seem to be coming up more and more and more. They seem to touch more on debate about immigration policy.
That is really igniting a fire with a lot of people here in Georgia. When we had first aired his story, no one was really aware of what was happening. And then as we continued to cover it, this story started getting statewide and then national attention. There have been a number of protests, both outside the ICE immigration facility here in Atlanta, and then when we went to his hearing in Stewart Detention Facility, which is all the way out in Lumpkin, Georgia, it's about a 2-hour drive, there was a huge protest there. So a lot of people are picking up on his story and asking the judge for leniency. We were not allowed inside the courtroom. It's a federal court hearing, and it's in a detention facility, so it's completely closed. No cameras, no reporters, nothing. But his family reported to us that the judge says he's taking these concerns seriously. He's going to review all of this, and he's going to issue that written decision within 30 days.
So 30 days. How much time does he have left? Do we know?
So we don't know yet.
Okay.
We've been checking in with his fiance every other day. The hearing was last week, so it will be by probably the beginning of September, mid-September, when he's going to get that ruling. His fiance had felt really strongly like the judge was going to rule in his favor. She said she didn't want him to get to 7 months in detention, and she was hoping that the judge would make that decision and he would be out. But now he's past that 7 months in detention, and what she's really worried about is the fact that he is a double amputee, and she says he has not had access to his prosthetics. So he hasn't been able to go to the cafeteria to get food. He's having a really hard time bathing himself. She says it's inhumane, and she wants him released so he can be properly cared for.
Have you had a chance to talk to him to see how he feels about all this?
Yes, actually, we're able to interview him when he's in detention. They have a video call feature where if you put money on the account, you can have an interview with him. And he said he's just feeling pretty dejected right now. He says he's trying to keep the hope and keep the faith. His family is very religious, and they say they're trusting in God and hoping that the right outcome for them ends up happening. But as of now, we have no ruling for the decision.
Wow, here since 2. All right, Kaitlyn, thanks so much for this story. Really appreciate it. We'll be checking it out. You can check out Kaitlyn's full report tonight on 11 Live News at 11 and right here on 11 Alive Plus.